The emptiness of the well. The town of Blackwood was an ordinary place. There was bread, cows, and grandmothers on the benches. But one day, the emptiness arrived. It wasn't hunger or disease, but something worse. Something that was stealing the town's soul. It started with the children. They were the first to feel it. They stopped laughing and playing. They would gather near an old abandoned well. They would simply stare at the well. My friend Richard invited me to his house. "Look at the air here," he told me over the phone. But his voice sounded desolate. I arrived in the afternoon. The town was extremely quiet. It was not the silence of the night. It was a tense, heavy silence. Even the dogs were quiet. They stared at the well, just like the children.
Richard greeted me, pale and with vacant eyes. His house smelled of dampness. "What's going on here?" I asked. He looked at me and whispered, "The emptiness came from the well. It feeds on memories. First, the small ones. First love, the smell of Mum's cake. Then it takes the big ones. Only the void remains." At night, I woke up feeling there was someone in the house, something worse than a thief. I heard the kitchen door. I looked. Richard was sitting at the table, eating something. His movements were peculiar. He was opening his mouth, but there was no food. He was eating the air, the emptiness. "Richard?" I said. He turned around. His face was expressionless, but his eyes were two black holes pulling everything inward. I retreated to my room. The next day, I decided to go to the well. Something was drawing me there. The air was dense and bitterly cold. I leaned over the well. I looked into the darkness. It smelled of nothing. It was the most terrible scent, the absence of smell. I looked into the blackness, and I thought it was looking back at me, and it was hungry. Suddenly, I heard a whisper from the depths, a whisper of old photos and letters. Then I heard a voice inside my head. "Do you remember your first teacher's face?" It whispered. I tried to recall, but I couldn't. Just a faceless shape. "Do you remember the smell of your childhood home?" I closed my eyes, but there was only white noise, void. I need to leave. I have to leave. But I couldn't. My feet were glued to the ground. The emptiness was stealing my memories. I no longer remembered the color of my mother's eyes. I forgot my own daughter. Suddenly, someone grabbed my shoulder. It was Richard. "Get out of here," he shouted, and he dragged me to the car. We drove out of the town. I looked through the window. On the road stood one of the girls who used to stare at the well. She lifted her vacant eyes and smiled. It was a senseless smile. I returned home. I felt safe, but at night, I dream of the well. I look into it, and from the depths my own face stares back at me. But it is vacant, without memories, without emotions. And I wake up screaming because I cannot recall my wife's name. I look at the woman sleeping beside me and see a stranger. I run to my daughter's room. I look at her photo. Her image is blurring.
The emptiness does not stay in Blackwood. It travels with those who have touched it. It feeds on us, and the worst thing is not the pain, it is the calm, the terrible calm of the void that replaces us.
I am sitting in the kitchen and looking at the wall. I almost cannot remember who I am, but I remember the well, and I know it is hungry, always hungry.
Glossary. We have learned important keywords like vacant, desolate, dampness, peculiar, retreated, bitterly, and senseless. Try to use them in a sentence.
Grammar focus. We have focused heavily on the past simple for narrative events and the past continuous for descriptive background actions. If you enjoyed this lesson and the story of the well, please leave us a like and a comment. Your support helps us keep creating. Remember, we are QuickTale English, and reading is the best exercise. Don't stop learning, and we'll see you in the next lesson.